Now, it has become a popular Democratic talking point. It has become a popular media talking point that it is Trump who's going to dispute the election. Let me say clearly and unequivocally, there will be a peaceful transition of power. I believe there will be a peaceful transition of power. If Joe Biden wins the election, Joe Biden will be sworn in as president. But what I fear is the reaction of the extreme left if Joe Biden loses the election. We've already seen anger and rioting and burning and violence in the streets leading up to this election. We know that Hillary Clinton, who was the Democratic nominee last time around, has explicitly told Joe Biden, under no circumstances should you concede. That means if Biden loses, assuming he follows Hillary's advice, he's filing lawsuits. He's challenging the legitimacy of the election. And I want this committee to focus in particular on something called the Transition Integrity Project. Transition Integrity Project was a project that was launched by a group of prominent Joe Biden supporters. It consisted of prominent Democrats supporting Joe Biden, and then actually prominent Republicans who were also supporting Joe Biden. It was basically a collection of Biden's top supporters. And they wargamed what might happen in a 2020 election. In the war games, the role of Joe Biden was played by John Podesta. Who is John Podesta? The members of this committee know that. John Podesta was Bill Clinton's chief of staff. John Podesta was the chairman of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. John Podesta is a serious, respected graybeard in the Democratic Party and clearly someone who knows Joe Biden well. Well, in the war games they ran the scenario where Trump wins. On election day, Trump wins. And here's what John Podesta playing Joe Biden did. I'm just going to read. In a big popular win for Joe Biden, a narrow electoral defeat, presumably reached after weeks of counting the votes in Pennsylvania. For the war game, they cast John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, of the role of Mr. Biden. They expected him, when the votes came in, to concede, just as Mrs. Clinton had. But Mr. Podesta, playing Mr. Biden, shocked the organizers by saying he felt that his party, that's the Democratic Party, wouldn't let him concede, alleging voter suppression. He persuaded the governors of Wisconsin and Michigan to send pro-Biden electors to the Electoral College. In this scenario, California, Oregon, and Washington then threatened to secede from the United States. Mr. Trump took office as planned. The House named Mr. Biden as president. The Senate and White House stuck with Mr. Trump. At that point in the scenario, the nation stopped looking to the media for cues and waited to see what the military would do. Now, this is not some crazy internet conspiracy. These are the leading graybeards of the Democratic Party laying out what they anticipate in 2020. And do you wonder why we need a full Supreme Court? God forbid that scenario, that constitutional crisis happens. If we have 8 justices on the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court divides 4-4, a 4-4 court can decide nothing. It has no authority to decide anything. It means, by the way, if the 11th Circuit rules one way concerning Florida and the 9th Circuit rules another way concerning Arizona, there's no Supreme Court to resolve that difference. And the chaos we saw 20 years ago in Bush versus Gore of 36 days could extend weeks and months and keep this country in a constitutional crisis. We need a functioning Supreme Court. And every time you hear the media gaslight you and say it's all because of a Trump legal challenge, remember, the candidate whose supporters are saying under no circumstances will he accept defeat and he will challenge and he will litigate and he will dispute the election, that candidate is Joe Biden. Regardless of who wins or loses, we need a Supreme Court to follow the law and ensure the Constitution is followed in this country. I'm confident this committee will take up that nominee and the Senate will confirm that nominee, as is our constitutional obligation.